What's up, Divine Ones? This is Minister Ashley for the Gemini season astral prophetic messages. So this message can be considered to be timeless, but however, I am focusing on the energy aspects of Gemini season, which just recently started on May 21st and will last until June 20th of 2023. So let's get into some of this energy. I feel like I always call Gemini season the God mind. And the reason why I call it the God mind is because we have the ability to look above a circumstance, above life altogether, and look at it from a dualistic nature, a dualistic perspective, because Gemini deals with both sides of the brain, and it deals with like two different polar opposites. Actually, in some of the mythology surrounding Gemini, we have the twins. Gemini is best represented by the tarot card of the Lovers. And the Lovers is depicted with a masculine and a feminine on the card. And they're completely in their natural nature, if you will. So on the traditional tarot card, you have Eve, and then you have Adam, and then you have an angel looking over top of them. So the angel represents like our higher nature, and then being grounded on the ground in the garden represents I like to think of it like animalistic type of nature, because man will be the middle between God, angel, and the lower nature. Like the devil would be a representation of that. Actually, you can see the symbolism of the devil, where you have the fire on one tree, and then you have another representation on another tree. On the opposite side, we have a tree that has the snake wrapped around the tree, and we know that that represents the knowledge of good and evil. So we have the opportunity of looking things from a dualistic nature. Gemini is a mutable air sign, so it pretty much deals with looking at things from a different perspective. Sometimes they can be categorized as indecisive. It possibly could stem from the fact that Gemini is ruled by Mercury, and Mercury is the hermaphroditic energy, and that would be half feminine and half masculine, half logical, half intuitive. That can be the reason why we may look at things from two different sides, and it honestly can make sense to us. And we're constantly faced with choices in life, and with this tarot card and with Gemini altogether, that we could take this season to stand back and look at our decisions that we have made over the course of lifetimes, over the course of this life, over the course of generations. This could even include family decisions that happened before we even incarnated into the world, even before we were born. This could be decisions that we made very recently. Like, is this really based in where I see myself going? That's a question you can ask yourself. And like looking at these decisions from a God, or either a God point of view, or for a better way of how to look at it would be from my future self. How would I look at my future, from where I see myself going and where I would like to be? So let me review my decisions that I've made, and does this really align with where I'm going? The Lover's card is the sixth card in the tarot deck, which I find to be interesting because 6 typically represents the fall of man. And that's what this card can represent, like the fall of man, or the temptation more so of man. How we all have the animalistic, carnal side of ourselves can be tempted, and but we have a higher nature, and we can use that to our advantage whenever we feel like we're being tempted. The Hebrew letter that's associated with this card is Zayn or Zion, if I'm saying it, or Zion, if I'm saying it incorrectly, just Google it. So with this is the 7th letter of the Hebrew alphabet, and we are in the year of 7. So I feel like, that during this Gemini season, really taking a step back and really reviewing the way how we communicate, but it's like, why do we communicate the way how we communicate? Like, why do I speak the way how I speak? Non-verbally, how do I communicate? How do you communicate? Is that where I see myself going? Is this really the way how I want to communicate? Do I need to work on communication? Gemini rules communication, siblings, being that it is the card and is the energy that rules twins, and twins are siblings. We could want to reach out and communicate with our siblings more. Sometimes this could be in the it could arise at this time that people may have disagreements with their siblings, or even disagreements within themselves, like going back and forth, bickering within their minds, and possibly rethinking the decisions that they have made. And is this a good decision? Is this not a good decision? Although Mercury is direct in the sign of Taurus, that we still are looking and reviewing our new set of values that we have learned over the Taurus season. So now it's time to implement them into practice with our mentality as well as with our actions. And we can feel the need to switch things up, not only in our communication and in our relationships with our siblings and our neighbors, but even abroad, like even broadening the spectrum, as the opposite house is the house of Sagittarius, deals with foreign travels and wisdom and communicating from a sense of a higher knowledge. So that's another aspect of the God mind that taps into this season, that we have the privilege of obtaining higher knowledge and wisdom. So I feel like taking a slower pace in the way how we communicate. So Mercury can be very quick. Gemini can be very quick-tongued, quick-witted, wanting to speak before thinking. But Sagittarius, with this great wisdom, is saying, slow down, take a pause, think before you speak, because you can say something that can do some form of damage and you cannot really repair it, or it may take a great deal to repair it. I'm thinking of the scripture that there's life and death in the power of the tongue. So your tongue is powerful. It's also another scripture. This one I can't really quote verbatim, but it's pretty much like your tongue is the smallest thing on your body, but it's the most powerful. It can steer a ship, almost like what do you call it? Like the wheel of a ship it's so small, but it steers and controls such a big, massive boat. So think about that before you speak. In the recent members reading, which I recorded this past Saturn day, which would have been May 20th, May 21st, around about that time. So you can go check that video out. That video, a lot of information came through about angelic presences and speaking over your environment. Like going through your environment and casting down any entities, energies, spirits, light bodies, whatever you want to call them, out of your atmosphere, because there's a lot of angelic energy that's at play right now. That's what I hear. So we were on the precipice right in between Taurus season and Gemini season. So there was like a gateway or a bridge or something that allowed a lot of activity to come in. And with that activity, almost like the veil is thin, like around October-ish type of, around that time where the veil is typically thin. It's almost like that, where we have to go through and we have to speak over our environment even more so right now. For example, like if you live with other people and obviously you guys have different personalities, there may be some debacles. But to really combat that, instead of directly saying something to someone, you can take authority over your environment and speak over it. You can take authority over your relationships and speak over it before you even verbally interact with the person. For example, so you can utilize your communication skills in other ways. It doesn't only mean communicate with a person directly. It's more so referring to communicating to the angelic realms and commanding your environment. If you watched or either listened to the overall collective video for 2023, the spiritual year of 7, that I mentioned about Venus entering into the sign of Leo, and that was about the divine feminine. And the divine feminine really voicing it's not really opinions, it's more so like making their voice known, making their presence known. And that is from both sides, not just people, divine feminine energy here, but also from previous years, from previous incarnations, from generations before. And ancestors, divine feminine ancestors, they really want to speak out. They really want to say something. And this could be a form of communication our avenue of communication that's opened up for us to communicate with our divine feminine ancestor. So that happens on June 5th of this year, but I feel like it will expand and only grow in energy throughout Leo season. Leo season has always been about the divine feminine, and it seems like the presence is growing stronger and stronger because they really have something to say. And a lot of humans that were born with wombs, so they call them women, that they were disadvantaged over the years, and seeing that there's so much liberation that's happening with women, people that have a lot of divine feminine energy, or just like a lot of feminine energy, that they are being able to have, they're having platforms to express themselves. They're having ways of how to really exercise their opinions, their creativity. This also speaks to the Mother Earth and how her voice has been crying out and how she has a lot to say. So, with natural shaking ups, I don't really want to use the word like disasters. So this portion, as I'm easing more into channeling, instead of sticking to any type of notes, it's just free flowing. So it's not really like a time frame. It's more so speaking of what's it's like a rumbling under the ground. And it doesn't have to do necessarily with the earthquake, but it's more so like a spiritual earthquake, like the earth is rumbling and trying to shake things up. And with that shaking up, it's like we're shaking things up to wake humanity up, to move things around. And we need to move things around so that way we can flourish. So I'm brought to the elementals. And the elementals, they have been mentioned many times in the biblical text, but the elements cry out. So with that, it's like this rumbling and the crying out, and also hear and see like a wolf howling, because it's like an alarm, it's like a call. And that the moon and the earth, they're like this. And so these are like two different types of divine warriors I hear. So the wolf could be somebody's spirit animal, and I do have a video, 2 or 3 videos about the spirit animal of the wolf. And then the Mother Earth, also dealing with the elephant energy, and also Jupiter, and like an expansive type of rumbling energy. And with this, it's like with this rumbling and it's like a howl. It's like this rumbling, this howl, and the howl is like a alarm, like the trumpet that's being sounded, and it will shake. Like it may not be the physical earth, but like things shaking up. And I feel like this just not just from an earth standpoint, like natural disasters or shaking or whatever, but it's more so like energetically shaking things up. So things can change, things can transform. It cannot stay the same because it's stagnant energy. And what happens with stagnant energy? It will start to break down. And so things have to switch around, I hear. So I'm reading a little bit from the 8-page PDF download, which you can find now listed on Etsy as well as on the website. And if you're a member, then you will have this in the member section. That full moon happens on June 4th at 13 degrees. And that is 13 degrees of Gemini, but it's a Sagittarius full moon. And the number 13, it is an auspicious number. Some people consider it to be unlucky, but this is literally like lucky energy. The whole energy is like lucky. And it happens in the second decan of Gemini. And with this lunation, that we do have a sense of higher wisdom, adventure. And with this adventure and wanting to not only just be optimistic and be expansive and wanting to obtain new levels of adventure and new levels of sensation in our life. And it doesn't always have to do with travel, but it's more so about that it's like some favorable outcomes from some decisions that have been made over a series of, I hear for some, decades, and from a series of choices that have been made very recently. And that 13 could be like over the past month, like 4 weeks, 4 weeks or 4 months, okay? And we'll get into that energy when it's time for the full moon. But moving on to the Gemini new moon, which welcomes in new opportunities to express yourself. And that happens on June 18th. And that happens in the 3rd decan of Gemini at 23 degrees of Gemini. And with this 8-page PDF, you receive not only just breakdowns of the full and new moons with the tarot, the Sabian symbols about the decans, angels, herbs that you can work with. But I also added a little bonus about the day of Pentecost and a little mini ritual there for you. Another great thing about with this new moon, if you have like a spiritual business or a business altogether, you can utilize this energy to plant those seeds for your business. And if you're writing a book, if you are doing any type of communication, another thing too about with the full moon, you can also utilize that energy for that too, especially if you're writing a book. If it deals with research, if it is surrounded in even a venture, it could be like a mystery novel or either, like an adventure novel or something, or kids book. That would be a really good time to write in between the full moon and going into the new moon. Actually, this entire season would be a good time to, write and then work on your business. Overall, this season is good if you work with social media or on social media, if you even work on websites or you write or you have a blog, if you have a business of your own, if you are looking to travel, or if you also with your vehicles, anything dealing with that, if you are not a medical professional or anything, if you want to start a holistic journey, or if you want to explore new ways of how to heal your body, this is a good time to do that. Any type of flexibility. If you want to meet new people in your field of interest, this is a good time to either reach out to them or if you receive offers, to review their offers. You can do rituals surrounded with anything, with commerce, with communication, with transportation. If you are looking to manifest or do some type of vehicle work, this could be a good time for that. And lastly, I wanted to speak about Whit Sunday, which is the day of Pentecost. And the day of Pentecost is on a Sunday, and that commemorates the Holy Spirit, the Spirit of the Most High. I really sort of kind of think of it too about like any type of spirits that you may work with, like for example, like your ancestors or any type of saints. This will be a good day. It happens on May 23rd, so you can utilize that as a day of how to connect. And this energy will also enhance whatever ritual that you did on spring equinox, and if you did do a ritual on the traditional New Year's, that this will only help to build and enhance that energy. So if you did a ritual, you can piggyback off of that, or either you can take advantage of this day of Pentecost ritual that I have in the PDF. And so it actually is the 7th Sunday after Easter. So Easter is the celebration of the rebirth, if you will, of the sun. Also a good ritual to do with the 5 elements. And if you have any type of illness or sickness, that this is a good day to do a ritual either for yourself and or for a family member, as it does represent like our bodies. And our bodies are pretty much like the church, like the tabernacle that houses the spirit. So this would be a great day to do some type of ritual for healing. And once again, I'm not a medical professional. It does not don't take this advice as something to quit or start working with any type of medications or whatever. Go see your healthcare provider for all of that. I also forgot to mention the blog post, so you can always check out the blog post that will have access to the link to the 8-page PDF download, and as well other information that I have over there. And it's more information about the twins from the Bible to mythology, and a couple other notes about Gemini, the zodiac, as well as Gemini, the season. So you guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure that you do comment, share, like, and subscribe if you have not done so. Check out the members portal. I post over there pretty regularly. I post at least once a week, and that will be like an astral prophetic weekly reading and other little goodies over there. Check out all of the links, and I will talk to you guys in the next video which will be for sure around like this full moon, but maybe before then. All right, until next time, this is Minister Ashley. Peace.